Right. So when the body is normally 41% of 10.5 neutral water, what is meant to actually stay during the saturated deoxygenated blood travel in 3 to 6 hours after ingestion, the conversion amount from fructose to glycogen remains to further classify. B. The reason that the actual change in conversion is being sought after is one, just routine. Systemically, the body makes sure that the actual vein function within itself, it assures itself, it reassures itself. So it's not about a deficiency. It's just to normally go to the do the functions at the timing for the reason. So the function plus the timing equals the reason, and it commits it to memory. So it creates the same oxygen familiarity of what is of healthiness. So the mean conversion rate from fructose to glucose. There you go. Fructose to glucose was 41%. 41%, and at neutral 10.5. Mean to SD, in which is saturated deoxygenated travel in 3 to 6 hours after ingestion, the conversion amount from fructose to glycogen remains to further be classified. So that's fructose metabolism, friction, osmosis. And the E would be education. Systemic education is the travel of it for it's the first form of glucose. It's fructose at first because it's going to travel. The natural sugar created is just that the glycogen becomes the final product that is stored within the body as the result of assurance that the the part of the body and the timing of the body is of proper nutrient availability for the body to protect itself, so it doesn't have to respond to actual fear and dehydration. So as it travels, it needs a 10.5 alkalinity of water, because as it travels within the bloodstream, the fructose in the capillaries, within the capillaries, as the fluid, it lets off, it requires energy, which is the plus and minus of it. So if you drink 8.8 alkalinity, well, then also um, having normal amounts of water and then alkalinity is just mixed in throughout the day to actually allow the body to utilize that energy without depleting itself. It has to stop back without depleting itself. It has to stop back at its normal balance of existence, and also create the proper gas exchanges with the right amount of convertible alkalinity. So that's it. And create the only the acid in the body is stemmed from the hepatic portal vein, and also um, the capillary storage points is what the acid is, because it has to form and shift itself into the capillary shape for that particular part of the body. So, because it has to create the angular effect to create gas for that particular part of the body, there's six gas points in the body, which is also considerable. So to get the arterial blood gases, which isn't about just the measure of such and such and such and such, it's the consideration of where your gas exchanges are previously created, kept at a stable, sustainative um, part. So there's actually gas within the body flowing all down your core, which is the CNS system. So when you like, oh my God, this and that, it's not like, oh, panic. It's gas exchanges being created. And um, it's also knowing that the lower body creates consists of lower body gases. So the whole point of metabolism of the carbon, the nitrogen, and the hydrogen and the oxygen is of metal form. So minerals, it's just of not metal form. It just metabolizes the way a metal does, and that's why it's of energy sources. So it is something that's a dense gas. It just metabolizes at a replicational rate, though. So it sustains itself because of knowing its importance, and also it um it also has the ability to compensate itself without needing itself. It's a central energetic bank where oxygen is so plentiful. It's borrowable throughout the body, so it's stored in excess, and through actual proper gas exchange, which is the fructose and glucose, which keeps everything in a actual in an actual in an actual neutral state, where you need the saccharification disaccharides of part of the division math are the disaccharides. So the disaccharides are part of saccharification, saccharification, and that's the character of the truth of the contents that create glucose isomerase, and which produces glucose from the shortened polysaccharides catalyzed by the glucoamylase. It's the first it's the first actual products created, called DNA and nucleotides. Um, Isomerization that's going to actually be tested for that day. Isomerization, which converts glucose into fructose. So catalyzed by the glucose isomerase. So it's catalyzed by the ability to test itself on how necessary is it for that day. If the body has a 48-hour holding time to create or sustain itself, or need to produce new capillaries, then it's going to systemically go into reaction on utilizing. So once the energy is utilized, it's going to allow the body to go, is this of necessary um, keep, or how was your day today? Is it a necessary keep, or should we activate one of the organs of its health and of its natural function? How do you excrete it out? And per what is eaten that day, have a canceling factor of that day that's convertible. So before it's even emptied out the body, it's unnecessary. When it is necessary, that's when it's catalyzed by the glucose isomerase. It's going to isolate it, calculate it, keep it, or erase it before the actual organs via the artery um, carrying it as oxygenated and of saved, reliable, stored nature of the mRNA, which is then the need to go into the thiaminic communication and allow the uracil and uracil to empty excrete the byproducts, and then it's of a second production um, active status, and that's when the arteries are into play or are into consideration. And then that's when the body goes into its full other communication. It takes a break from the first response, which is the where did I write that down? Because that's what was tying the final connection to everything. And once I watch this back, I know that this is the finalization on looking into the timing and timing and set. Mission accomplished. So then that's when the phosphoric acid, which has a pKa1 of 2.5, pKa2 of 7.20, and a pKa3 of a 1235. Of the first process, it has to have at least borrowable power of 2.15 of alkalinity left over before throwing the body into an acidic state. It's 3 acidic protons. So it's called an acidic proton because it's going to create the body to go towards more of an acidic state because it borrows 2.15 of alkalinity. And then that's just upon the first defense of the body itself being in defense mode. So it's a defense because it goes into the creation of antibodies. It's the antibody activator where when the antibodies are not utilized, they go right back into the storage spaces and stay of the body. Except that the body is not going to allow the blood to travel amongst itself without protection because it's that important. So of the first, where am I looking for? It's called the I hear it. I think I'm pretty close. So, there we go. During the initiation phase, the body is at a pKa to the first power, which is of the initiation, that's the power of that's first. It borrows 2.15 of alkalinity of itself, and it's at a necessary alkalinity of a 10.5 for the necessary fructose to glucose of insulin. Insulin is basically the insulation, which is I'm speaking on what insulin is. And it's the insulation calculated of the borrowed acidity and the borrowed alkalinity because it's actually just the heat and the hot and the cold in connection with the travel and the availability to sustain the heat and the cold and only link it to not feeling of heat and cold, but the speed of heat and cold. And it's like driving at 90 miles. It's like driving 20 miles in a 15 mile per hour. It's 5 over, but at the same time, it's of frictional. The speed limit is not just for speed. It's honestly to identify the material utilized to make that street. So it's to save them tax dollars more so anything. So I mean to not compare it to the actual outside world, which is irrelevant. It's just a good way to show that of meaning of the actual the actual pertinent purpose. So, to explain insulin, the phosphoric acid has a pKa of 1. So for the mRNA that's traveling with the body, that is of the initiation mRNA, which is the thymine to the uracil, um, which is the thymine to the uracil naturally, the uracil is the RNA, and the thymine is of a balanced diet. Is of a balanced diet. So that's number one. That's number two. With the alkalinity of 2.15 plus or minus, which is that's what the plus or minus is, for situational divide, and the natural over 10.5. So with the 41% water sustaining H2O sustain power of 100%. And that also the timing is of need with here we go. The timing of need, which is the first, is 2.15, and then of the second, when it goes to the lower body, which is of 7.20, which is your PM, and then this is your AM. PM, you need a plus or minus 7.20 of a 10.5 intentional minus 2.15. So you need a 10.5 minus 2.5 bracketed, because that's the sustained guarantee. So you need it bracketed because it does not change. So